Do you know why I'm so obsessed with like international football? Why, when I was, I think it was 10 years old, I got a Nintendo DS game for the 2006 World Cup, and I discovered, of all teams, it was actually Saudi Arabia. I was like, Saudi Arabia has a team. This sport is awesome. You know, like I was learning all of this for the first time. The reason that I fell in love with the international part of the game for the first time, because it brings people together from all over the world in a way that I think the club sport doesn't. And I know that sounds overly kumbaya, like overly, oh, if only we, you know, like all of a sudden a bunch of celebrities are coming together to sing some weird song that goes viral, and then a year later we look back at it and we're like, that's the most cringe thing that's ever happened. One of those instances, that's what it sounds like, what I'm saying to you. But I really think that it's neat. I think that there is the fact that there is a playing field that literally every country in the world can step onto, and in some nations, you know, that aren't even countries, can step onto and feel represented by. And that's why I always root for teams like Greenland to get their own national team in the first place. Well, there is a really, really cool incident's the wrong word. There is a cool event that happened that I guarantee you nobody was paying attention to, even though I made that whole video going through World Cup qualifying. And we're going to make another one once the actual whole window is done. Nobody was paying attention to it, and nobody should be. Right, because it was a match between two countries, one that's a nation, one that's a country that there just aren't a lot of people there, right? But to the people that are there, it matters so much, right? Because it is a team achieving something, it is a nation achieving something that they've just never achieved before, and it's a bit closer to my heart too, because I actually have been there. Having grown up in Florida, the Caribbean is in pretty good striking distance to me. And so, you know, I just, if you grow up in Florida, you just have a more intimate familiarity with the Caribbean than I feel like most people do. But the match was a World Cup qualifying match between the Cayman Islands and Antigua and Barbuda. Now, this is your fun fact of the day. I have actually watched the Antigua and Barbuda national team in person. They played the United States in World Cup qualifying. They played them in Tampa. Well, I grew up in Tampa, so I actually went to the game and watched Antigua and Barbuda in the United States play against each other. US won 3-0, played a B team. It was fun. It was like pouring rain. I remember being taken aback by the fact that Antigua and Barbuda's goalkeeper was about 5'9", but yeah, he was actually pretty good, and we didn't completely blow them away. I know, United States, right? We just lost to Colombia as well. I think we'll be fine in Copa America. I think we just needed a wake-up call. That or Greg Berhalter's a terrorist. We're about to find out. But I'm not going to let myself get distracted by that, because we're here to talk about the Cayman Islands against Antigua and Barbuda. Now, opening qualifying match for the World Cup for the Cayman Islands, Antigua and Barbuda is, as probably evidenced by the fact that they have played against the United States before in qualifying. Antigua and Barbuda is not the worst national team ever created. They drew Bermuda in their opening match. Now, Bermuda is usually a middling island national team as well. Cayman Islands would be described as a bottom-tier island national team. The Cayman Islands, going into this match, had actually never won a World Cup qualifying match ever. Literally ever. You go to the Cayman Islands national football team, right? You go to World Cup, and there's like a qualification section. They have been a FIFA member since 1998, Cayman Islands. And you go right down the win column. They have never won a game. Now, granted, they have had one beautiful moment. They finished fourth place at the 1995 Caribbean Cup, but they, of course, weren't part of FIFA at that time. And by 1998, it would seem that all of their ability had been sapped. In fact, the last time that they qualified for the Caribbean Cup was in 1998. They have not managed to make it into a Caribbean Cup since. And in fact, they didn't enter the last couple. And honestly, the last Caribbean Cup was in 2017. I haven't heard anything about it, but maybe they just shut it down. The pandemic was particularly uncomfortable for the Caribbean islands. But this, an opportunity against Antigua and Barbuda, was an opportunity that the Cayman Islands took. The match took place in Truman Bodden Stadium in Georgetown in the Cayman Islands. This is the Cayman Islands. This is the other island of the Cayman Islands, but the vast majority of people live right here. It is not particularly big. This is Truman Bodden Stadium right in here. And if you zoom out a little bit more, you could see, for example, Cuba and, Belize and Mexico, right? Like, this is where the Cayman Islands is. It's actually pretty far away from where a lot of the other Caribbean islands are, out on its own and entirely forgotten. But in this one bulge of land, we have the Truman Bodden Sports Complex. In its defense, it has one actually pretty sick-looking stand, and it had a match last night that was 0-0 after the 90th minute. And then the Cayman Islands, and a huge shout-out to the World of CONCACAF podcast, had its most magical sporting moment on a pitch ever. Here you go. It's awesome.
Field switch. Was hoping to find Campbell.
You can tell what it means. That's my favorite part about it. You can tell what it means. The audio might be blocked on the video, so if you can't hear it, the crowd's going absolutely nuts. There's only about 55,000 people in the Cayman Islands, which is actually far from the smallest nation in CONCACAF, which would be Montserrat, which is 10 times smaller. 5,000 people live in Montserrat. But the Cayman Islands only has 55,000 people. You have to imagine a good portion of them are at least at this game or are watching this game. It is not that hard to get to this stadium. The Cayman Islands, if you drive from all the way, let me see if I can actually get this pulled up. Because I've done this. I've driven the Cayman Islands. If you drive from all the way over here, which is where, by the way, literally nobody lives, to here, it's about an hour. And you just kind of take this highway. It is really desolate over here, though. Everybody in the Cayman Islands, almost everybody lives in this area, so they're all within about 20, 30 minutes of the game, and they're locked in, and they love it. They actually have their own league. I remember we were at a Mexican restaurant in Georgetown somewhere, actually. It's a lot of places it could have been in, but we were in a restaurant in Georgetown, and the guy that was waiting tables was an American expat who had come to the Cayman Islands to play in the Caymanian League for a season. And I was asking him about, of course, me being me, I was asking him about the level of the Caymanian League, and he's like, well, they might not be very good, but they are tough as hell. A lot of two-footed challenges. They don't hand out a lot of cards. It's just like it's a really violent game in the Cayman Islands. It's like I played for 1 year. I was like, it's good. I'm good. You just stayed there. But they play, I believe it's Sunday mornings. The whole league is based on Sunday mornings. And there was a story from back in the day, not too long ago, where the Cayman Islands was posting flyers around these kind of Sunday league games to have people come and try out for the Caymanian national team. And they have now gotten to a level where they are able to actually win a World Cup qualifying match. And while the Cayman Islands is very likely will never go to the World Cup, right? I mean, I realize a lot of nations, whether it be India or even Bangladesh, or so, these nations can say that, well, at some point, I think we're going to be able to go to a World Cup. Cayman Islands never is going to have that expectation to go to the World Cup. But why play? Because I'm sitting here talking about it, right? And that's obviously a small part of it. But if you're a Caymanian, there is almost no opportunity to represent the Cayman Islands on an international level. And this is basically the biggest stage that you can create for yourself. This is World Cup qualifying. And you're playing against all of your neighbors, all of the other islands with whom you are right next door. And it is a real fraternity in the Caribbean. All of these islands, they know each other, especially when you go over to the eastern part of the Caribbean. Everybody's intimately familiar with all the other islands. They have all these different Caribbean competitions, just trying to compete with each other and one up each other. The world for the Cayman Islands is not the world. The world is being able to hold something over the rest of the Caribbean. And now they can. For the first time. There just is really no other sport that offers an opportunity to a nation like the Cayman Islands to be able to accomplish something like this. And you know what? Never say never, because all of a sudden the Cayman Islands are in second place in their group, and if they finish in the top two, they advance to the final qualifying round. Now, granted, there are 7 more matches left to be played in this World Cup qualifying group, including games against Honduras and Cuba, who are definitely way better than the Cayman Islands, but for one glorious, humid, hot night in Georgetown, the Cayman Islands were a winner in World Cup qualifying. A winner. And they deserved it, and I'm friggin' happy for them. In about 2 years and 2 months from now, we are going to crown the next champion of the world. The World Cup will come to a close, but one of the happiest teams out of the entire World Cup process, by the time we reach the end, will still be the Cayman Islands. A first win in World Cup qualifying, and congratulations.